Everyone, welcome back to Life and Sport podcast. And I'm joined by a very special guest, the first NRL guest of 2023 for the podcast. He's a recent NRL retiree. His last club was the Gold Coast Titans. His name is Thompson. First of all, thanks for joining us. And how's retirement going?
Yeah, it's good. I love it. I think I was probably one of the lucky ones that went into retirement excited and ready for the next phase. So I know some boys struggle, but I've been really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, sweet. And what's been involved in that transition for you, if you don't mind me asking?
Um, Sort of just got ready for the next step early.
Yep.
I was 80% ready to retire when I made the call and had a youth work lined up, and then I signed up for East Tigers again for this season, and
To
they've
play?
offered me to play for one more year, and they've offered me a coaching role for 2024, which is
Oh,
good as
nice.
well, and also start up at Kiewa Park in the rugby league department in January,
Oh,
helping out with the coaching staff. So
that's awesome.
keep him busy. So that was my main concern is how am I going to keep busy? I don't want to just sit there
Yeah.
missing football. I want to keep busy and moving ahead in life.
Well, I mean, I've heard of a lot of players, once they retire, they spend maybe a year or two still playing, but just not at the top level, like the stresses of the NRL. So it's great to hear that you're still going to get some, footy fitness and play maybe in the Q Cup for, well, the Brisbane Tigers is what they're called now, but it'll always be East Tigers, which
Yeah.
which is a perfect starting point because your footy days started in Brisbane. You're a Queensland lad. First of all, who'd you follow growing up?
Back when I was like 6 and 7, I think the only team we ever saw was the Broncos.
Yep.
So you were sort of forced to support them, but I guess it was a good thing because back then, Darren Lockyer was playing.
Yep.
All the old school players that were elite players now.
All the legends.
Yeah, so I guess it was a good team to have to support because it was the only team that was shown on Channel 9. Channels. So
yep.
it was good. So Dad used to take me to Lang Park. Back when it didn't even have grandstands, it was just
when
hill.
It wasn't Suncorp, yeah.
Yeah, so just a hill on one side and a small grandstand on the other. And I think I remember one game. I think the Broncos were versing the Steelers.
Yep.
So that's a game that I can remember sitting on the hill.
That's awesome. Honestly, that is so awesome. And obviously that tangent's in you spent your junior footy, well, you started your junior footy at East Mount Gravatt and then into South Logan. What was it like playing junior footy for those clubs?
Yeah, it was good. East Mount Gravatt, it was my local team that I lived near, and most of my school friends went there.
Yep.
In primary school. And I remember I was supposed to start playing when I was 5, but Mum thought I was too small, so I had to play T-ball for a year.
Yep.
Until I was 6, and then I spent 12 years at East Mount Gravatt.
Wow. And what was the choice
there,
to move to South Logan? Was it because they didn't have an under 18s or something at East Mount Gravatt, or what was it to progress further?
Got asked if I wanted to sort of play a high division.
Yeah, okay.
I only ever played Div 2 and 3 until I was like 16, 17.
Oh, wow.
So I never played Div 1 or the A grade juniors until I was probably like 16, 17. And then I went to South Acacia Ridge.
Yep.
For the Nev Blair competition, which was good. We ended up winning that comp.
I think it's because you were at the club. I think that's why.
And then we won the comp there, but then I went back to Mount Gravatt.
Yep.
I think after that for one more year, and then I went and signed up for South Logan Magpies. I think played a year of reserve grade there, and made my Queensland Cup debut. And I think I played 1 year for Q Cup.
Yep.
And then moved to East Tigers.
Yeah, nice. And that tangent to East Tigers led to what would in the near future at that time be your time in the NRL. You got a preseason with the Storm, which is an amazing club, first of all, to be out, let alone have a preseason, but they couldn't fit you in the cap because they did want to sign you, but you ended up going and playing in a rugby sevens sort of tournament in the meantime after that. What was that like going from rugby league to rugby union and rugby sevens very briefly?
Yeah, it was good. I loved it. I played rugby sevens a couple times in the off season, in between my stint at South Logan and Tigers.
Yep.
Played it a couple times and I really enjoyed it. I loved the open space and the aspect of the game, but obviously I couldn't take that to the next level or professionally for a career because It's so selective. They're only a small team, and I ended up going back to East Tigers and played really well. I think 2011 or 12, played really well, got best back. Cody Walker beat me for player of the year. So
Wow.
I was unlucky, but me and Cody ended up being sent to the Storm at the back end of 2012. And we started doing the preseason, and Cody tore his hamstring, I think, week one
Shit.
of
Oh.
preseason. And he got flown home, and I spent the rest of the 8 or 12 weeks by myself there. So
And
it
obviously
was
you
good.
had a. So no, you go ahead.
It was good. It was probably one of the hardest preseasons I've ever done.
I was literally about to ask how
Um,
was it because they say the first one is always the toughest.
yeah, and even throughout my career, that first and one and only Storm preseason was probably the toughest I've ever
Wow.
done. Just the days, the army camp, the schedule that those boys are on. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but sort of a good thing because I started at a really hard point and just set me up the work ethic for the rest of my career.
Oh, absolutely, because you could have gone into, sign for another club blind as without a preseason under your belt, not knowing what to expect, and then been like, shit, I don't know if I can make it. But you already had a preseason under your belt when you signed for the Bulldogs. And obviously being a Brizzy boy, signing for a club like the Bulldogs is a massive thing. It's a Sydney-based club. What was it like, and what was the move like down to Sydney for you?
Yeah, it was pretty instant. So I flew down there on Saturday, met with the Bulldogs,
Yep.
and then I moved there on Tuesday.
Shit.
So
Wow, that
flew
is
down, met
quick.
with them on Saturday, moved, and I've never been to Sydney before either. So
Oh, wow.
moved on
Little
Tuesday
fish,
and
big
just
pond.
and lived in Belmore in the
Yep.
Bulldogs house. So you know how hectic the Bulldogs fans are. I lived in the
Yeah.
middle of Belmore, and
Wow.
it was such a great club. I love being a part of the Bulldogs, and I was grateful for my time there.
Absolutely. And speaking of your time there, your first grade debut came actually against the Broncos in round one for the Bulldogs. What was that like? First of all, to run on the field, get your NRL debut, but it was also against a Brisbane-based club being the Broncos.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was sort of hoping it would be at Suncorp, but they flew down to ANZ Stadium, and um, it was crazy. I remember I had to mark Daniel Vito
Wow.
for my first game, and he's a big boy. And I remember he took a run near the try line, and I thought I held him up, but he just got the ball down. But yeah, it was such a great game, and I remember I scored my first try the next game
I
against the
was literally
Sharks.
about
So
to
I
bring
was
that
hoping
up. What
to.
was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I still remember exactly what happened. Got the ball down just on the line. It went up to the video ref as a no try, but um, they found the ball touched the try line before I went over the sideline, and
Fuck yeah.
it was crazy to actually see the big screen spin around and come up with try in an NRL game. It was something I'd
Compared to
always
sitting at the
remember.
stands and seeing it, come up when you're sitting watching the game sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So it,
That's
it was crazy. And then
that's
all the
awesome.
Bulldogs fans erupted too. So it didn't matter who you were versing, they would pack the ground out.
Oh, they're absolutely like you can say what you want about Bulldogs fans, but you cannot deny their loyalty to the club. Like they are just
Yeah,
absolute
I
diehards.
always tell people we versed them a couple of years ago, and I think that was when they were going through a bit of a slump, and
Yep.
they were losing heaps of games, and we played them in Sydney, and they were still low 20s thousands there, and they're all banging the drums and
Yep.
waving the flags and supporting them. So they're a great fan base to have a part of your team.
Well, absolutely. And going back to your grassroots a little bit, just before we continue the NRL chat, because I meant to bring this up. Did you end up, because you're a very proud Indigenous man, you've played for the Indigenous All Stars. Did you end up growing up playing in the Murray Carnival or the Koori Knockouts at any point?
No, never.
Wow.
The first one that I went to was when I was at the West Tigers,
Yep.
and I was supposed to play for Walgett.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And
A lot of names come from Morgan, including
yeah,
George Rose.
yeah. So George Rose, he always gives me a call that time of the year and asks if I want to play. But I just had my ankle surgery, and the Tigers said I can go, but I wasn't allowed to play.
Yep.
So I ended up going and just running water for the
Being an
weekend. And
ambassador sort of thing as well.
yeah, so
It's an
just
amazing
ran
event.
water for Walgett. Yeah, it was my first time I ever been, and it's it's a very crazy
It
festival of rugby league.
It's massive. I
Um,
went to the 2019 one before COVID all hit and they had to cancel it for a few years. And everyone online this year was saying, why are there no talent scouts or NRL scouts there? Because it is such a crazy level of skill that's being played there.
Yeah, it's good, and you have the young freakish athletes, but then you also have the 50-year-old unfit uncle that
Yeah.
is taking hit ups off the kickoff, and then the athletic nephews are smashing them. So
Oh, it's
it's
amazing.
such a good game to watch, and whatever happens on the field, if there's high shots, penalties, send offs, everyone just shake hands and hugs and laughs after full time, and then you're on to the next game. Kicks off straight away.
Exactly. And because most people are multi-mob, so they usually end up, if their team gets out, they'll end up supporting the next mob that's, going through the ranks and sort of stuff.
Yeah,
It's amazing to watch. It's such a great community event that I'm glad that it's televised nowadays, because it's and it needs to, I believe, get on Fox Sports, not just on NITV, because it's such a spectacle, such a pinnacle of, you could say, community rugby league meets professional. Because, like you said, NRL players do get a chance, obviously if they're not playing in the grand final, because it's usually on the grand final weekend, and if they're not injured, they can play. The Fafita brothers were there that year. Josh Adokar was
yeah,
there that year. It's amazing it really is amazing to see that. But
yeah.
we just spoke about your time at the Bulldogs. You then went over to the Tigers, which is no, sorry, you didn't go over to the Tigers. You went over to Widnes in between that time.
Yeah,
What was it like going over to the UK? Because not only did you go from Brisbane to Sydney in a matter of a few days, you went from Australia all the way over to the UK. What was that like?
yeah, it was different. The first like 6 months to the year, I enjoyed it just because I lived in a hot climate my whole life. Went over there, got to wear hoodies.
See snow.
Yeah, and then I as quick as I liked it, I hated it just as
Oh,
fast. I hated the cold.
fuck.
Always raining. So it was really good. I went over there to gain, game experience.
Yep.
In 2015, I was sort of in and out of the Bulldogs, and wasn't really getting consistent footy. And
Yeah.
when I went over there, I got to play consistent first grade footy, and I scored plenty of tries in my first year. And
Yeah, you
I was
did.
lucky enough. Straight after the first year, the West Tigers called and said they'd be interested. And then I had to play out the second year in England, and then came
Yep.
straight back to the West Tigers.
And what was that like? Obviously, going from obviously cold and miserable by the end of it back over to sunny Australia.
Yeah, it was good. I came back with plenty of confidence. I knew, I could have easily, stayed in England and consistently played first grade, but I really wanted to get back to the NRL. When I left, I'd only played like 35 NRL games, and I still wanted to play. I still wanted to get to 100.
Yep.
Still had plenty of fire to compete in the world's best rugby league comp. And when I came back, there was no guarantees. There was nothing. All I had was the basic football contract that gives you the opportunity, and took it with both hands, and had a really good preseason, and ended up starting round one, and pretty much played every game before I got injured that year.
Yeah, you did. And honestly, it's a massive testament, because there's definitely been you could say, you were sort of the start, not you in particular, but like there was a bit of a crop where back in the 2000s, not you in particular, NRL players would go over to finish their careers over in the UK. You wouldn't really hear about a player coming back to the NRL if they went over to the Super League. But you and probably a few others sort of thing started coming back, and now it's a much more commonplace thing. And it is a very hard thing to do regardless, to get back into the NRL, because as you said, that skill set is a little bit, a bit more above than the Super League. And how did you sort of adjust to the skill set to come back? Because, I know some players, when they came back, they felt their skills had diminished a bit when they went over to the UK and they had to really work hard. Did you feel that sort of sense of needing to work hard?
I came back with plenty of self-belief.
Yep.
So it was pretty easy to know, like, the skill set. I knew that I had what it took to play in the NRL. So, I know some boys that are in and out of first grade, and they go over there. They probably reached where they could reach in the NRL.
Yep.
So they go there, but my goal was to play one more NRL game.
Yeah.
If I retired and I played the NRL game, I would have been happy. But
oh wow,
I was lucky Madge was the coach. Oh no, Ivan Cleary was the coach at the West Tigers when I first came.
Yep.
And he just, helped me so much more in that preseason and throughout that year. And it was really good. And then he went to Penrith, and then I was lucky enough that Michael Maguire came on board and the
had you in
second
his
year,
plans.
And I was lucky enough to win Players Player
Wow.
of the year my second year. So I was lucky enough to come back to two good coaches.
Yep.
Two premiership winning coaches. My first year's back here, that just made me grow even more as a player. So, credit to those two coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you ended up finishing your career at the Titans, which it was a bit of a shock. So obviously anyone that's not in the NRL or, close to you or the Tigers or the Titans sort of thing, it was a bit of a shock because it seemed from the media that you requested an immediate release and granted you went to the Titans sort of mid-season-ish. Was that if you don't mind me asking, was that a personal reason or was it because you wanted to get back up to Queensland?
Yeah, so the Tigers had obviously recruitment's coming.
Yep.
For the third year, so they brought some more outside backs in and everything. And then at the time, AJ had his fracture in his back.
Yep.
So the Titans reached out to my management. They just said, would Corey be interested in coming back? AJ's going to be out for a while. He'll be able to, play fullback or wing or
basically your choice.
Just the opportunity to come back while AJ was injured. I think they had a few injuries in their outside backs, and I asked the Tigers and said, I'd love to be able to go home.
Yep.
I've never had the opportunity to play in Brisbane, Gold Coast area.
Yep.
Before in my career, so they were really good. They obviously had a lot of talented young backs either coming through the ranks or they've signed. So,
it just sort of all fell into place, sort of thing for you, rather than what the media Tigers made it out to seem.
Yeah, and the Tigers could have easily said, "No, you're contracted here for another 2 years. You're staying."
Yep.
But they, credit, they let me go, and it was great. Packed up, moved to the Titans, and had a great career there. I loved it there. I loved being back on the coast, being around family. So it was really good to finish up at the Titans.
Now that's awesome because a lot of players don't get the chance to, finish up in the state or, an area where they sort of grew up. So it's amazing to hear. So we've covered the sort of nitty gritty stuff of the career. So now let's get into some sort of fun type questions and some, a bit less, a bit more lighthearted questions. First of all, you just mentioned Ivan and Madge. Who were your biggest coaching influences during your playing career? And, to be sort of the man you are today?
Well, I think every single coach I've ever had, they've won premierships.
Yep.
Justin's won the Super League title.
Yep.
So he knows what it takes to have a good team. All my other NRL coaches have won NRL premierships, but I'd have to say, other than the Storm's preseason, probably Des Hasler.
Yep. At the Dogs.
Sort of molded me into the player.
Yep.
I remember I was like, Desi's he's the best person you'll ever meet. So genuine, kind, but when he's in coach mode, he's the scariest person that you would ever meet.
Wow.
I remember there were days where, because we obviously would do attack days, practice our attack, and then D days, and the reserve grade would run whoever we're versing's attack plays at us.
Yep.
And I remember I used to be terrified of defense days because if I was on the wing and if reserve grade scored, he would blow his whistle, walk over to me and absolutely spray me. He would be like, "We just spent an hour in fucking video and you toss up that shit." And I remember I'd try and get out of training when I knew we would have defense days because I used to say to the boys, I'd rather play in front of 100,000 people than train with just Des standing behind me. But
more pressure training in front of Des than playing in front of 100,000. Wow.
But, sort of after a while, because as a young footy player, you'd think I can defend that. I'll watch it once. I know what's coming.
Yep.
But after a while, I'd start to tune in more in video. I'd start to read what was coming towards me more. I would start to figure out who had a good cutout pass that could hit the winger. Not to get I didn't do that to get better. I did it so I wouldn't get yelled at. But
Which it ended up making you a
but it
better
made
player.
me but it ended up making me a better player. So the person, like your question, the coach that sort of molded me would have been Des.
That's amazing. And like that's so awesome to hear. What would be, you'd say, your proudest achievement on the NRL pitch so far?
There would be two. So the grand final.
Yep, the
Um,
2014 grand final.
yeah, so
Yep.
playing in the grand final and then the Indigenous All Stars in Townsville. So
Yeah.
those two would be sort of
Side by side.
side by side.
Yeah, nice one. I mean, unfortunately, it was a grand final loss, but you were part of that whole season, played most of the, I think most of the whole season. So it's an amazing accomplishment to get to a grand final, let alone,
Yeah,
I
so
mean, unfortunately lost, but what was that season like?
I think that was my first year. So I was on match payments and I
Wow.
played round one and then I played 27 games. So including the finals and the grand final. So
That's a good pay year at the end of, if you do a match payment.
yeah, so it was really good that first year. And that was another year where all I wanted to do was play one game. The debut was a surprise. Like I had a good preseason, but there was no communication between myself and the coaching staff of playing or whatnot. It was just pretty much Tuesday. Des came up and said, "I'm going to put you on the wing this weekend."
Oh wow.
So so there was no sort of lead up, or I didn't know that I was going to be there. It was just got named on Tuesday.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And of the two main positions you play, which were winger and fullback, which did you prefer?
I loved fullback just for I was able to roam, support the big boys, take scoots and that. But I also loved scoring tries on the wing.
Yeah.
Winger
tries. Sort of there's nothing better than seeing a good winger try.
Yeah, because I never played wing growing up. I was always fullback or center. And then the first time I ever played, wing properly was in Queensland Cup, a couple games when I wasn't fullback. So I did have to learn, but the more I learned and the more I played wing, I enjoyed it more than fullback.
Okay.
The older I got.
Yeah, nice. I'm just going through the list here. Now we're doing some quick fire ones. First of all, what's your beer of choice? Or if you don't drink beer, what's your liquor of choice?
Liquor of choice would be Jack Daniels and Coke Zero.
Yes, very nice.
And then beer of choice. I don't really drink beer. It's sort of like pale ale or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. How do you like your steak?
Medium.
Yeah, very nice. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, I'd usually say like Marvel movie, but probably all time, like growing up, would be Armageddon.
Oh, great film. That's such a good film. And okay, so what's your current favorite movie? As you said, Marvel. Who's your favorite Marvel hero?
Oh, probably Deadpool.
Yes. I love the Deadpool films. Absolutely. What's your favorite music?
Like R&B. Chris Brown's my favorite artist.
Okay, so was he on your, game day playlist each day? Sorry, each game day?
I never listened to music before games because I'd get real anxious before games.
Okay, yep.
And hype songs and that would just make it worse.
Shit, okay.
So I'd need to have. I love joking around. Like some boys I have to stay away from because they have headphones on, don't talk to me and that. But I'd loved having a laugh and goofing around before the game just because it sort of settled me down and relaxed me a bit.
Yeah, nice.
So I didn't really have a game day playlist. Usually, in some teams would have like a big boom box and someone would control the music, and I'll just walk around kicking the footy or joking with some of the boys.
Yep. Yeah, nice. And speaking of having a joke around, who was the biggest pests at each club?
At the Bulldogs, it would have been
Josh Reynolds, surely.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds.
Yep.
At the Tigers, it would have been Josh Reynolds again.
Yeah, I was going to say he was there as well.
Then at the Titans, Tino.
Tino, okay. He gives off a bit of a pest vibe, so I'm glad
he does. Like
I'm glad
in the at training and in the game, he's Mr. Locked In serious.
Yep.
But in between sessions, in the locker room, lunch breaks, away trips, the biggest pest.
Fair enough. And last one for the quick fire segment: Apple or Android?
Apple.
Apple, absolutely agreed. And speaking of Apple, just going to get some questions up from the people because as you saw on Instagram, I made a post asking people to submit their questions for you.
Oh,
So we've got a few. First of all, the question from Titans fan base or Titans fan base. First of all, thank you for your question. They ask if of the clubs that you didn't play for in the NRL, which one do you wish you could have played for? That's a good
I
question.
wish I could have played for the Storm after doing my first preseason there.
Yep.
I think it would have been cool to spend a season or however many years there down in Melbourne at Amy Park.
Yeah, fair. The next question is from Diego Sweaty or Diego Sweaty. I don't know. He asks, of your clubs that you played for in the NRL, who will finish higher on the ladder this coming season?
Oh, I think now the Titans, I think, have a better youth.
Yep.
I think their young boys are a lot better. But
Yep.
I think the Bulldogs have built for the last 3 or 4 years to finish higher.
Absolutely. I agree
So I
with
think
that.
the Bulldogs have gone through their last, second last, third last years.
Yep.
And I think now
They're
that
building.
they've built fairly well. But I think if the Titans can stay fit, their young boys will be able to match it with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, nice. Mason underscore Sorbello asks, what are your thoughts on Matt Burton's bombs?
Thankfully, I didn't. Every time he bombed it to me was a normal one. It wasn't
Yep.
a floater.
Yep.
But it's crazy how much it moves.
Yeah.
I know they show it on TV and they try to capture it, but
Unless
it's
you're at the
crazy
game,
when
you
you're
can't
standing.
really understand it.
Now, when you're standing underneath it and you set your feet, it'll move 10 meters by the time
Yeah.
you get to it. I'm not sure if he's got size, like 14 shoes, but the height and floaters that he can put up it's ridiculous.
It's insane. And one last question from the listeners, fans, etc. They Bilal underscore BNZ asked, which team had the best culture?
Or probably the Bulldogs
Yeah.
would culture wise. I loved being at every club.
Yep.
But just
the vibes sort of thing.
I think just because the Bulldogs had been around for so long.
Yep.
They're probably the oldest team, from start wise when they were created that I've been at, and just what they demand, and the culture that they have, and I think it would go yeah, Bulldogs would be number one, and then but out of all of them, I probably love my time at the Titans the most.
Yeah, nice.
That was probably the best club that I've been at would be the Titans.
That's awesome. And speaking of the Titans, your last game, home game was actually last year. I was actually at that game. It was against the Knights. What was it like running out onto the field of Seabus for the last time?
Yeah, it was good. The Titans fans they're crazy. There's nothing better sitting in the sheds, and because it's not the biggest stadium, when you're in the sheds warming up, you can hear everything that's going on outside, and then the run out through the tunnel and them all cheering and screaming. It's a great memory to have, and glad that I was able to run out onto Seabus.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, I mean, as I said, I was there. I didn't put two and two together that it was going to be your last game at the Titans for the home game. And honestly, you guys turned it on for that afternoon of footy. Like, it was Sunday Arvo, 4:00 kickoff. It was amazing. And obviously, I always love seeing the Knights lose because I'm a Broncos fan. So it was great to see them lose, and especially to the Titans. And in your last home game for them, I've got two more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. First of all, what's next for Corey Thompson?
I want to get back into rugby league. So obviously I start at Keebra Park in the rugby league department at the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
I go full time with Brisbane Tigers in 2024, and I also do one-on-one coaching clinics.
Is that Coach AI?
Book into. Yeah, so for Coach AI. So I want to stay in. Yep. Thank you. I want to stay in rugby league.
Yep.
Obviously now that my playing career has finished, I've got to start from scratch now in the coaching side of it. But I really want to work my way up the coaching ranks, and whether I go into coaching or recruiting at a club, I'd love to be able to either maintain or build a culture at a
Yeah.
club, bring the right people in, keep the right people. Because there's nothing worse when you're a player is if staff are chopping and changing.
Yeah.
Half the players get sacked or changed each year.
Or the coach gets sacked as well because
Yeah. So if the
some players
coaches,
sign on for a specific coach and then they're sacked when they get there.
yeah, so I'd love to work my way up the ranks and learn off people and experience that side of footy for a couple of years. Then hopefully I can get a full-time job in an NRL team and help the players win premierships.
Yeah, nice. Well, fingers crossed for you. And the last question I've got is, which kind of feeds in perfectly with the Coach AI, which anyone who's interested, I'll put the link in the description to that. And the question is, what advice would you give to any youngsters who have hopes of making it in the NRL?
Definitely your work ethic. It's so important to outwork not only the opposition but your teammates.
Yep.
Even when you make the NRL, your local footy team, your local school team. Every time you go to training, you're training against someone that wants to take your position or you want to take their position.
Yeah.
So I think just because it's a Monday training session doesn't mean that you don't have to work. Some pre-seasons I spent 8 weeks trying to outperform someone.
Yep.
All just to get named round one.
Yep.
So then once you get named round one, each week you have to perform to deserve to be named each week. So probably your work ethic, because if you've got talent but you don't want to work hard, you'll last a year and then you'll never be seen again. But
yes, as I say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work.
Yeah, so if you continue to work hard, your talent will continue to grow, and if you keep working hard, you'll stay around longer than the average NRL career. So that's only short. So
well, the average nowadays is like 40 or 50 games, and I mean,
I think it's only 3 or 4 seasons that a player's signed for. So it's not a long life. If you think you've made it after a year, you can quickly be out of the competition.
Absolutely. And I mean, you managed to achieve a dream that so many people, such as myself, have, which is making it in the NRL, not just one game, because as you said, you would have been happy with just one game, but you managed to get that dream of playing over 100 NRL games. And I got one last question because I just thought of it. What was it like to play your 100th NRL game?
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember, I always saw when people would make milestones, I'd get it stitched or printed on their jersey. And that was my game. That I came back from my ankle surgery. So I was out for 8 weeks and I came back in. We flew to Canberra and we absolutely pumped them.
Yeah.
And now my partner got the 100th jersey framed and everything. So, I've got that to hang up and always appreciate.